The EDF Harbinger glided silently through the darkness of space. Its sleek hull reflected the distant starlight, making it shimmer like a jewel against the black canvas. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Morgan stood with her hands clasped behind her back, eyes fixed on the main view screen. 5 minutes until we reach the diplomatic coordinates, said Lieutenant Eric Johnson from the navigation console. Lisa nodded. After 30 years of faster-than-light travel capability, humanity was finally going to establish formal relations with the galactic hegemony. The alliance of 17 advanced alien species had largely ignored humans until now, seeing them as primitive newcomers to the galactic community. All systems operating at peak efficiency, Captain, reported Chief Engineer Samantha Wells. The new shield modifications are online and ready. Good work, Chief, Lisa said. She felt proud of her crew. The Harbinger represented the best of human engineering and innovation. While not as large as the massive hegemony vessels they had glimpsed in long-range scans, the Harbinger was fast, agile, and equipped with technology that Earth had developed independently. Communication channels open and ready, Captain, said Communications Officer Frank Diaz. I've prepared the greeting message as specified by the diplomatic corps. Lisa took a deep breath. This moment would go down in human history. First official contact with the governing body of most known space. Send the message. Frank. The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. The diplomatic coordinates placed them just outside the hegemony core systems, in neutral space. The plan was simple. Announce their presence, exchange formal greetings, and arrange for face-to-face talks. Captain, I'm detecting ships approaching, said Sensor Officer Maria Kennedy, her voice suddenly tense. 3 vessels, hegemony design. Moving fast. Lisa straightened. Standard greeting formation. Keep our shields lowered as a sign of peaceful intentions. The view screen shifted to show 3 arrow-shaped vessels approaching rapidly. Their hulls were covered in what looked like ornate patterns, but what humans had learned were actually weapon ports. They're not responding to our hails, Frank said, fingers moving quickly over his console. Try all frequencies, Lisa ordered. Something felt wrong. This wasn't how diplomatic meetings were supposed to begin. Captain, they're powering weapons, Maria shouted. Lisa didn't hesitate. Shields up. Evasive pattern delta. The Harbinger banked hard just as green energy beams sliced through the space they had occupied seconds before. The ship shuddered as another beam grazed their shields. Shield strength at 87%, reported Samantha. Those weapons are more powerful than our intelligence suggested. Return fire, asked Weapons Officer Paul Rivera, his hand hovering over the controls. Lisa shook her head. No, this is still a diplomatic mission. We defend only. She tapped her communication badge. All hands brace for impact. The Harbinger shook violently as multiple beams struck their shields. The lights flickered momentarily. Shield strength dropping to 60%, Samantha called out. The adaptive algorithms are working, but they need more data. Lisa made a quick decision. Plot a jump course back to human space, Eric. We need to report this. What about the diplomatic mission? Frank asked. Hard to have diplomacy when they shoot first and don't bother talking, Lisa replied grimly. Maria, gather all the sensor data you can about their weapons and shields. The ship rocked again. A console at the rear of the bridge exploded in sparks, sending a crewman flying backward. Medical team to the bridge, Lisa called out. Shields. 43% and falling, Samantha reported. But I'm getting good readings on their attack patterns. Give me 5 more minutes, and I can adapt our shields to be more effective. Jump drive charging, Eric announced. 30 seconds to jump capability. The largest of the hegemony vessels moved to cut off their escape route. Its front section began to glow with energy. They're charging some kind of main weapon, Maria warned. All power to forward shields, Lisa ordered. Eric, be ready to jump the instant we can. The hegemony ship fired a massive pulse of energy that struck the Harbinger head-on. The lights went out completely for 3 seconds before emergency systems kicked in. Shields at 12%. Samantha shouted over the blaring alarms. But I got what I needed. If we survive this, I can make significant improvements. Jump drive ready, Eric called out. Get us out of here, Lisa commanded. The stars on the view screen blurred as the Harbinger jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the hegemony ships behind. As the shaking subsided and damage reports flooded in, Lisa sank into her captain's chair. So much for peaceful first contact, she said quietly. Frank, prepare a full report for Admiral Harper. The hegemony just declared war on humanity, whether they meant to or not. High Commander Zixvar paced the polished floor of the intelligence chamber. His 4 arms were clasped behind his back, and his scaled skin shimmered under the bright lights of the hegemony command ship. Around him, various officers studied the footage of the recent encounter with the human vessel. Play it again, he ordered, his voice deep and gravelly. The holographic display in the center of the room replayed the attack on the human ship. Zixvar watched carefully as the green energy beams struck the vessel. The ship's shields held much longer than expected. Impossible, muttered Senior Analyst Kethnar, his thin fingers adjusting the controls to zoom in on the human ship. Their shield technology should be at least 50 years behind ours. They must have stolen this vessel. From whom? Zixvar asked sharply. No hegemony ships are missing. No allied species have reported theft. Kethnar fluttered his neck membranes in the equivalent of a shrug. Perhaps they purchased it from smugglers or reverse-engineered debris from one of our older vessels. Zixvar wasn't convinced. And the way it moved. That maneuver to avoid the dreadnought's main cannon. A fluke, Kethnar insisted. Primitive luck. Across the galaxy, Admiral Diane Harper sat at the head of a long table in the Earth Defense Force headquarters on Luna Base. The mood was tense as Captain Lisa Morgan's report played on screens around the room. This is an act of war, said General Kyle Peters, slamming his fist on the table. We should respond with full force. With what? Asked Admiral Harper calmly. We have exactly 6 ships with advanced FTL capability. The hegemony has thousands. Patricia Winters from the diplomatic corps raised her hand. This could be a misunderstanding. Perhaps our signals were interpreted as hostile. They gave no warning. Admiral Harper pointed out. Captain Morgan followed first contact protocols perfectly. She stood up and walked to the main display showing the damaged Harbinger now docked at Luna Base. How long until repairs are complete? Chief Engineer Alan Davis says 3 days for essential systems, replied her aide. But he's requested additional time to implement some upgrades based on what they learned from the attack. Admiral Harper nodded. Give him whatever he needs. She turned to the others. I'm authorizing a military response, but not a reckless one. We need to protect our future envoys. The hegemony needs to understand that humans aren't helpless. Meanwhile, in the engineering bay of the Harbinger, Alan Davis analyzed the data from the attack. His workspace was cluttered with tools and holographic displays showing shield harmonics and energy signatures from the hegemony weapons. Look at this pattern, he said to his assistant Olivia Reed. Their energy weapons operate on a fluctuating frequency. That's why our shields weaken so quickly. Olivia studied the readings. Can we adapt to that? Alan nodded, his eyes bright with excitement. Not only adapt, we can improve. If we reconfigure our shield generators to create a multiphasic layer, we could potentially deflect up to 80% of their weapon energy. He pulled up another display showing the Harbinger's power systems. The problem is power consumption. These modifications would drain our reserves 3 times faster than normal. What about the new fusion reactor? Olivia suggested. The prototype in Lab 3. Ellen stopped, considering this. It's not been cleared for ship installation yet. But it works, Olivia insisted. I've seen the test results. It could provide double the power our current system does. Ellen smiled slowly. Get me the specs. If we're going back out there, we're going with every advantage I can give us. Back in hegemony space, Grand Hierarch Quilith received the report from High Commander Zixvar. The ancient alien sat on a floating throne, his withered body barely visible beneath ornate robes. "So the humans have more advanced technology than we thought," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "This changes nothing. They are still young, still few. We have ruled the stars for 10,000 years." Zixvar bowed respectfully. "What are your orders, Grand Hierarch?" "Monitor them. Learn more about their capabilities. If they venture into our space again," he made a dismissive gesture with one gnarled hand, "eliminate them. Show them the price of defiance." As the High Commander left, Quilith turned to his personal advisor. "These humans concern me. They have progressed too quickly. See that the Third Fleet is prepared for deployment. We may need to deal with this problem more permanently." Unknown to the hegemony, the humans were already preparing their response. In the repair bay, Alan Davis watched as the new shield generators were installed. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Morgan studied tactical reports. And in her office on Luna, Admiral Harper drafted plans for a task force unlike anything humanity had fielded before. The hegemony had made a serious error. They had assumed humans would cower. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt and overcome against impossible odds. The Grand Council chamber of the hegemony sparkled with light reflected from 1,000 crystal panels. 17 seats formed a circle, each designed for the unique biology of the species it represented. At the center floated the ancient throne of Grand Hierarch Quilith. "The human problem must be addressed," Quilith said, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "They have shown disrespect by entering our space with an armed vessel." Council member Nevron, a tall being with blue skin and large, gentle eyes, stood from her seat. "With respect, Grand Hierarch, our vessels fired first. The humans were at the agreed diplomatic coordinates." Murmurs spread around the chamber. Nevran's people, the Alorans, were known for their dedication to truth and peace. "You question the report of High Commander Zixvar?" asked Quilith, his voice dangerously soft. "I question the wisdom of making enemies unnecessarily," Nevran replied. "The humans have shown remarkable progress in a short time. They could be valuable allies." General Kreth of the warrior Vargan species laughed, a harsh sound like metal grinding. "Their world is barely united. They have only a handful of ships capable of reaching our space. They are no threat, and no potential ally worth considering." "Then why did their single ship escape our attack squadron?" Nevron challenged. The room fell silent. Quilith's eyes narrowed. A momentary failure. One that will not be repeated. "The Third Fleet will depart tomorrow for human space as a precautionary measure. The vote will now be taken." One by one, the council members voted. When the tally was complete, only Nevron and 2 others had voted for peaceful contact. The decision was made. On Earth, President Catherine Walsh stood before the United Nations Space Council. The large chamber was packed with representatives from all Earth nations and colonial delegates from Mars, Europa, and Titan. "The unprovoked attack on our diplomatic vessel cannot go unanswered," President Walsh said firmly. "Yet neither can we rush headlong into a war with an empire that spans hundreds of worlds." She paused, looking at the grim faces before her. "We will defend what is ours. We will show strength, but we will also remain open to diplomatic solutions." The Mars representative stood. "What protection can you offer the colonies? We are far more vulnerable than Earth." "Admiral Harper has authorized the deployment of our newest defense systems to all colonies," President Walsh replied. "And as we speak, a task force is being assembled." Later that day, in the secure briefing room of Luna Base, Admiral Harper addressed the captains of 4 ships, the repaired Harbinger, and 3 other advanced vessels, the Defiant, the Valiant, and the Intrepid. "Intelligence suggests the hegemony is sending ships to our territory," she said, pointing to a holographic map of local space. "Your mission is to meet them at the edge of our system and deliver a clear message. Earth is not defenseless, and we will not be bullied. Captain Lisa Morgan studied the tactical displays. 4 ships against their fleet. Quality over quantity, Captain. Admiral Harper replied with a thin smile. Thanks to Engineer Davis and his team, your ships now carry technologies the hegemony doesn't expect us to have. The briefing continued as they discussed formations and contingencies. Meanwhile, in orbit around Mars, civilian ships evacuated non-essential personnel from the research outposts. Defense platforms that had been hidden beneath the red soil of Mars began to rise to the surface, their weapons systems coming online for the first time. On the Harbinger, Alan Davis supervised the final installation of the new shield system. The prototype fusion reactor hummed in the engineering bay, its blue glow casting strange shadows. Power output is stable at 120% of projected values, reported Olivia Reed, checking the readings. The shield modifications are fully integrated. Alan nodded, satisfaction evident on his tired face. Now let's see them try to bully us again. Across the solar system, humanity prepared. Military vessels moved into defensive positions. Colonial militias trained with new weapons. Communication relays were hardened against attack. In deep space, at the edge of human territory, automated sensor buoys detected the first signs of the approaching hegemony fleet. Silent alarms triggered throughout Earth's defense network. The time for preparation was over. On the bridge of the Harbinger, Captain Lisa Morgan watched as her crew took their stations. The ship, once damaged, now hummed with power and purpose. The other 3 vessels moved into formation alongside. All ships report ready, Captain, said Frank Diaz from Communications. Lisa nodded, set course to intercept the hegemony fleet. It's time to show them what humans are really capable of. Admiral Vrax stood on the command deck of the hegemony flagship Eternal Dominance. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the tactical display. The Third Fleet, consisting of 50 warships, had just entered the outer boundary of the human solar system. Sensors detect 4 human vessels approaching, reported the sensor officer. Small ships, primitive design. Vrax made a sound that might have been a laugh. They sent 4 ships to face the Third Fleet. The Grand Hierarch was right. These humans understand nothing of galactic power. On the bridge of the Harbinger, Captain Lisa Morgan watched the approaching hegemony fleet on the main screen. The enemy ships were arranged in a standard attack formation, their hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. 50 ships, said Maria from the sensor station, heavily armed. Lisa nodded calmly. Open a channel to the hegemony flagship. The screen changed to show Admiral Vrax. His alien features were stern as he looked at the human captain. This is Admiral Vrax of the Galactic Hegemony Third Fleet. You have entered hegemony-claimed space. Surrender your vessels immediately or be destroyed. Lisa didn't flinch. This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the Earth Defense Force. We are in human space, defending our territory. Your ships fired on our diplomatic vessel without provocation. We request you withdraw immediately. Vrax's upper eyes narrowed. You are in no position to make demands, human. Your primitive vessels cannot stand against the might of the hegemony. I will give you 1 standard time unit to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Lisa smiled slightly. I'm afraid we'll have to decline your generous offer, Admiral. She nodded to Frank at Communications. End transmission. The screen returned to the view of the hegemony fleet. All ships, battle formation Delta, Lisa ordered. Lieutenant Commander Peter Nichols on the Dauntless. Begin your approach pattern. On the Dauntless, Peter acknowledged the order. His ship broke formation, accelerating rapidly toward the hegemony fleet. They're powering weapons, Maria reported. The flagship is locking onto the Dauntless. Stand by, Lisa said calmly. Alan, are the new systems ready? In engineering, Alan Davis watched his displays carefully. Solar flare defense system ready, Captain. Just say the word. On the hegemony flagship, Admiral Vrax watched the lone human ship approaching with amusement. They send 1 ship to attack. Fire main weapons. Destroy it. Green energy beams lanced out from multiple hegemony vessels, all converging on the Dauntless. But instead of striking the ship, the beams seemed to bend around it, as if hitting an invisible bubble. What? Vrax leaned forward. Report. Unknown defense system, stammered the tactical officer. Their shields are like nothing in our database. On the Dauntless, Peter grinned. Solar flare defense working perfectly. Beginning maneuver sequence now. His ship suddenly accelerated to speeds the hegemony had never observed from human vessels. It weaved between enemy ships, moving in patterns that should have been impossible for its size. On the Harbinger, Lisa gave the next order. All ships engage solar flare defense and execute attack pattern Omega. The 4 human ships suddenly blazed with energy. Their shields now glowed with a golden light that rippled like the surface of a star. They moved with incredible speed, dancing between the much larger hegemony vessels. Admiral Vrax pounded his control panel. Impossible. Fire all weapons. Destroy them. The hegemony ships fired everything they had, but the human vessels continued to evade. When hits did land, the new shield technology dispersed the energy harmlessly. Captain, said Weapons Officer Paul Rivera on the Harbinger, targeted disabling shots ready. Fire, Lisa ordered. Precisely aimed energy pulses struck key systems on several hegemony vessels. Engines failed. Weapon systems went dark. Communication arrays shattered. On the Eternal Dominance, alarms blared as systems began to fail. How are they doing this? Vrax demanded. They are humans. Primitives. His tactical officer looked up, fear evident in all 6 eyes. Sir, we've lost engines on 12 ships. Weapons are failing on 8 more. The human vessels are executing maneuvers our tactical systems classify as impossible. Vrax stared at the screen, watching as the 4 human ships systematically disabled his fleet without destroying a single vessel. Retreat, he finally ordered, his voice hollow. All functioning ships, protect the damaged vessels. Full retreat to hegemony space. As the hegemony fleet began its withdrawal, Lisa Morgan allowed herself a small smile. Hold positions, she ordered. Let them go. They've received our message. Should we pursue? Asked Frank. Lisa shook her head. No. Our mission was to defend our territory and demonstrate our capabilities. Mission accomplished. As the hegemony ships limped away, Alan Davis looked at his readings with satisfaction. The new systems performed better than expected, Captain. The hegemony hasn't seen anything yet. The hegemony spy ship entered Earth's solar system using advanced stealth technology. Inside, Kethnar wore an uncomfortable disguise that made him appear human. His mission was simple: infiltrate Luna Base and discover the secrets of human technology. What Kethnar didn't know was that the humans had already detected his ship. Earth's new sensor network, based on principles reverse-engineered from hegemony technology, but significantly improved, had picked up his vessel the moment it arrived. Let him land, Admiral Harper told the security team. I want to know what he's after, but keep him under constant surveillance. Kethnar's ship docked at Luna Base under a false identity. He disembarked, confident in his disguise and forged credentials. Within hours, he had gained access to the lower levels of the research facility. But before he could access any sensitive information, security officers surrounded him. Welcome to Luna Base, said Admiral Harper as Kethnar was brought before her. We've been expecting you. The alien spy realized his mission had failed before it began. How did you know? Your stealth technology is impressive, Harper replied. But we've made some improvements to our sensors, just like we've improved on many hegemony designs. Instead of imprisoning him, Harper made Kethnar an unexpected offer. Tell us about the species subjugated by the hegemony, and we'll consider a more lenient response to your espionage. Faced with the choice between cooperation or imprisonment, Kethnar revealed valuable information. The hegemony, he explained, had conquered many species over thousands of years. Some, like the Vexor, had once been powerful, but were now reduced to serving the hegemony elite. The Vexor still maintain a small fleet, Kethnar said. They are required to provide ships for hegemony defense, but they hate the arrangement. They remember their days of independence. This was exactly what Harper needed to hear. Meanwhile, the Harbinger had arrived at the neutral trading post known as Junction Station. The massive space station served as a meeting point for various species, some part of the hegemony and others independent. Captain Lisa Morgan, dressed in civilian clothes, made her way through the crowded markets. She had arranged to meet with a Vexor representative in a quiet bar on the station's lower level. The alien who greeted her was tall and slender with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. "I am Trell," he said in a low voice. "You are the human who defeated the Third Fleet." Lisa nodded slightly. "One of many who contributed to that victory. We wish to speak with your leaders." Trell's eyes narrowed. "Why would the mighty humans need the help of the Vexor? We are considered a minor species now." "Because we recognize the truth," Lisa replied. "The Vexor were once a great spacefaring civilization. The hegemony forced you into submission, but they didn't destroy your knowledge or your spirit." Trell was silent for a long moment. "What do you propose?" "An alliance," Lisa said. "Equal partners. We share our technological innovations. You share your knowledge of hegemony space and tactics. The hegemony would destroy any Vexor colony that aided you," Trell pointed out. Lisa smiled. "Not if they can't reach the colony." She showed Trell data on a small device. It contained plans for Earth's new defensive systems. Trell's eyes widened as he studied the information. "This could work," he finally said. "I will take this to our secret council." Back on Earth, Commander Andrew Phillips prepared for a covert mission. His team of Special Forces operatives boarded a small, fast ship designed for stealth operations. Their destination: a Vexor colony world where the inhabitants were treated as little more than slaves by their hegemony overseers. "This is a liberation mission," Andrew told his team. "We go in, we disable the hegemony control systems, we get out. The Vexor will do the rest." As his ship departed Earth, intelligence reports arrived with troubling news. The hegemony had deployed their feared First Fleet, commanded by High Admiral Zoxvar himself, brother of the High Commander. 50 of the largest warships ever built, accompanied by hundreds of smaller vessels, were heading toward human space. President Walsh called an emergency meeting. "How long do we have?" 2 weeks at their current speed," Admiral Harper replied. "But our new allies might be able to help us prepare a surprise." Across human space, preparations accelerated. New defense systems were installed. Ships were upgraded with the latest technology, and in secret laboratories, scientists put the finishing touches on weapons that the hegemony couldn't imagine. The greatest space battle in human history was about to begin, and the fate of multiple species hung in the balance. The human colony of New Montana hung like a blue-green jewel against the black of space. It was the furthest human settlement, a thriving world with 10 million inhabitants. Now it stood directly in the path of the approaching hegemony First Fleet. In orbit around New Montana, Captain Lisa Morgan watched as ships from 4 different species moved into defensive formation alongside the human vessels. The alliance she had helped forge was being tested for the first time. "Vexor ships are in position," reported Frank Diaz from Communications. "The Trillary and Novan vessels have also checked in. We're still waiting on the Zentari." Lisa nodded. The 4 species that had joined with humanity were all former victims of hegemony expansion. Now they saw a chance for freedom. "Any word from Commander Phillips?" she asked. "His mission was successful," Frank replied. "The Vexor colony on Peller IV has overthrown their hegemony overseers. That makes 5 colonies liberated in the past week." While the hegemony focused their forces on confronting the human threat directly, resistance movements had sprung up throughout their territory. The Empire was facing challenges on multiple fronts for the first time in thousands of years. On the massive hegemony flagship Eternal Glory, High Admiral Zox Var studied tactical displays of the New Montana system. The humans have gathered allies, he noted with disdain. Minor species, barely worth our notice. Together they have assembled 47 capital ships, his tactical officer pointed out. Our intelligence suggests their technology has continued to advance rapidly. Zoxvar dismissed this concern with a wave of his hand. The First Fleet has never known defeat. We have 250 vessels, including 50 dreadnoughts. This will be a swift victory. He turned to his communication officer. Send a message to the human leader. I will offer terms for their surrender. President Walsh received the transmission in the Emergency Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth. The holographic image of High Admiral Zoxvar towered above her. Humans of Earth, he began, his voice dripping with condescension. Your recent actions have disrupted the peace of the hegemony. This cannot continue. I offer you these terms. Surrender all military vessels, cease all technological development beyond approved levels, and accept hegemony guidance. In return, your species will be permitted to live. President Walsh listened calmly to the demands. When Zoxvar finished, she stood. High Admiral, we reject your terms completely. Humanity will not surrender its sovereignty or its future. We came to the stars in peace, but we will defend ourselves with everything we have. Zoxvar's expression hardened. Then you have chosen extinction. The First Fleet will erase your colony at New Montana as an example. After that, we will proceed to Earth itself. The transmission ended. President Walsh immediately contacted Admiral Harper. It's time, she said simply. Admiral Harper nodded. Operation Thunderbolt is ready, Madam President. Authorization code. Alpha 7 Delta 9 Echo. President Walsh replied. Godspeed to our forces. At New Montana, Captain Lisa Morgan received the authorization code. She called her senior officers to the bridge of the Harbinger. The First Fleet will arrive within 6 hours, she told them. They outnumber us 5-1. But numbers aren't everything. She activated a holographic display showing a new weapon system. This is the quantum displacement field, she explained. It allows a ship to partially shift out of normal space, becoming nearly invisible and immune to conventional weapons for a short time. Lieutenant Olivia Crawford, recently transferred from engineering to tactical, stepped forward. The system is ready for deployment, Captain. All ships in our fleet have been equipped with the basic version. Our human vessels have the advanced prototype that allows for offensive operations while displaced. Lisa turned to her crew. The hegemony expects us to either run or make a desperate stand. They don't expect us to attack. But that's exactly what we're going to do. She outlined the battle plan. When the First Fleet arrived, the Allied ships would appear to be in a standard defensive formation. Then, at the critical moment, the human vessels would activate their quantum displacement fields and execute the first phase shift jump in combat history. We'll appear directly in the middle of their fleet, Lisa concluded. Their ships will be firing at where we were, not where we are. As the hours ticked by, the crew prepared for battle. Engineers made final adjustments to the new systems. Weapon officers ran simulations. Medical teams readied for casualties. Lisa stood alone by the viewport, looking out at the peaceful colony below. Millions of lives depended on what happened in the next few hours. Captain, Frank called from his station. Long-range sensors have detected the First Fleet entering the system. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Lisa turned to face her crew, determination in her eyes. Battle stations, everyone. Let's show the hegemony that humanity is just getting started. The vastness of space around New Montana suddenly filled with the ships of the hegemony First Fleet. They emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, a wall of destructive power aimed at the human colony and its defenders. All Allied ships, hold position. Captain Lisa Morgan ordered from the bridge of the Harbinger. Wait for my signal. The hegemony ships moved closer, their weapon systems powering up. High Admiral Zoxvar watched with satisfaction as his fleet approached the much smaller Allied force. They don't run, he noted. Perhaps they hope to die with honor. Sir, His tactical officer reported, "The human ships are emitting unusual energy patterns." Before Zoxver could respond, Lisa gave the command. "All human vessels, activate quantum displacement fields. Execute jump pattern Alpha now." On the Harbinger and the other human ships, Lieutenant Olivia Crawford activated the new system. A shimmering blue light surrounded each vessel as they partially shifted out of normal space. Then, in a maneuver that defied conventional physics, the ships vanished. "Where did they go?" Zoxvar demanded, staring at the tactical display in confusion. His answer came seconds later as alarms blared throughout the flagship. The human vessels had reappeared in the very heart of the hegemony formation, their weapons already firing with deadly precision. "Impossible," Zoxvar shouted. "No ship can jump with such accuracy." The Harbinger targeted the engines of a hegemony dreadnought, its advanced weapons slicing through the larger ship's defenses. Around them, the other human vessels did the same, disabling key systems on the hegemony's most powerful ships. The Allied Vexor, Trillary, Novan, and Zenturi ships now advanced, attacking the confused and disorganized hegemony formation from the outside, while the human ships struck from within. "Sir, we're taking fire from all directions," the tactical officer reported to Zoxvar. "The human ships are jumping from position to position. We cannot target them effectively." On the Harbinger, Lisa watched as their plan unfolded perfectly. "Target their command and control systems next," she ordered. "Let's cut off their ability to coordinate." The battle raged for hours. Though vastly outnumbered, the human ships continued to jump in and out of quantum displacement, striking with surgical precision before vanishing again. The allied species followed the openings created by the humans, pressing their advantage. Eventually, High Admiral Zoxvar faced the unthinkable defeat. Nearly half his ships were disabled, their engines or weapon systems destroyed. The rest were scattered and unable to form an effective defense. "Order a withdrawal," he finally commanded, his voice hollow. "All functional ships are to protect the damaged vessels during retreat." As the hegemony fleet began its humiliating withdrawal, cheers erupted across the Allied ships. The colony of New Montana had been saved, and the invincible First Fleet had been defeated. In the following days, the news spread throughout hegemony space. Species long oppressed by hegemony rule began to rise up, inspired by the human victory. The galactic hegemony, stable for 10,000 years, began to crumble from within. On the capital world, Grand Hierarch Kulith summoned the emergency powers granted to him by the Council. "We must sue for peace," he told his advisors, "before we lose everything." 2 weeks later, Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the Grand Hall of the United Nations on Earth. President Walsh addressed the assembled representatives. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," she announced. "The hegemony has agreed to recognize Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory. They have also agreed to recognize the independence of any species that wishes to join our new galactic confederation." Lisa watched as representatives from 17 formerly oppressed species took their places in the chamber. The balance of power had shifted forever. Later that day, Admiral Harper approached Lisa with a smile. "Congratulations, Admiral Morgan," she said, pinning the new rank insignia to Lisa's uniform. "You've earned this." "Thank you, Mom," Lisa replied. "What happens now?" "Now you take command of the combined fleet of the Confederation," Harper told her. "There's a lot of work to do to maintain this peace we've won." On a distant hegemony world, the exiled Zoxvar sat alone, studying reports of human technology. How had they advanced so quickly? How had they developed the quantum displacement field when the hegemony scientists had deemed it impossible? The answer came not from his research, but from a human scientist who had been invited to address the remnants of the Hegemony Council. Dr. Alan Davis stood before the aliens without fear. "You ask how we achieved in decades what you could not in millennia," he said. "The answer is simple. You became comfortable. You stopped innovating. Humans thrive on challenge. We adapt. We overcome. And we're just getting started." Throughout the galaxy, A new era had begun. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of cooperation, led by the adaptable, innovative humans, had just begun. 1 month after the Battle of New Montana, representatives from 27 species gathered in the Grand Council chamber on Earth. The room had been specially designed to accommodate beings of all sizes and biological needs. At the center stood President Catherine Walsh, flanked by Admiral Lisa Morgan, and the newly appointed ambassadors from the allied species. Across from them sat Grand Hierarch Quilith, looking small and diminished without his floating throne. Beside him, a handful of hegemony officials waited nervously as the peace treaty was presented. "The terms are fair," President Walsh said firmly. "The hegemony will recognize the sovereignty of Earth and all human colonies. You will also recognize the independence of any species that wishes to join our galactic confederation." Quilith's hands trembled as he signed the document. 10,000 years of hegemony dominance had ended in less than a year of conflict with the humans. "It is done," he said, his voice barely audible. As the hegemony delegation departed, the chamber erupted in celebration. Species that had been subjugated for millennia were free at last. Admiral Morgan watched with satisfaction, remembering how it all began with a single unprovoked attack on her ship. 2 days later, Lisa sat in her new office at Confederation headquarters. The view of Earth from orbit never failed to inspire her. A chime announced a visitor. "Enter," she called. Alan Davis walked in, now wearing the uniform of Chief Science Officer for the Confederation. Admiral Morgan. He greeted her with a smile. "Congratulations on the promotion." "You too, Chief Davis," she replied. "What brings you here?" Ellen placed a datapad on her desk. "The analysis of hegemony technology you requested. It's fascinating how little they've innovated over the past 1,000 years. They'd been coasting on their early advantages." Lisa scrolled through the report. "And meanwhile, we've leaped forward in just months." "That's what makes humans different," Alan said. "We thrive on challenges. Each problem we solve makes us stronger." He hesitated. "There's something else you should see." He activated a holographic display showing the former hegemony territories. "These red areas indicate worlds where the population has risen up against their hegemony overlords. It's spreading faster than we anticipated." Lisa studied the map with concern. "We promise to help maintain stability during the transition." "The Confederation fleet is stretched thin," Alan pointed out. "We can't be everywhere at once." Lisa thought for a moment. "We need to accelerate the training programs for the liberated species, get their own ships operational again with our new technology." "Already in progress," Alan assured her. "The Vexar are particularly quick learners." In the shipyards orbiting Mars, the next generation of human vessels took shape. Engineer Rebecca Rodriguez supervised the construction of the first Confederation-class carrier, a massive ship designed to house smaller craft from multiple species. "The unified control systems are online," reported her assistant. "All crew stations can now adapt to 17 different biological requirements." Rebecca nodded approvingly. "Good. We need these ships ready as soon as possible." Meanwhile, on a distant world at the edge of former hegemony space, Admiral Diane Harper led a diplomatic mission to a reclusive species known as the Eldari. Legends spoke of their advanced technology and wisdom, but they had retreated from galactic affairs thousands of years ago, when the hegemony first rose to power. "The humans have achieved what we thought impossible," the Eldari elder told Harper. "You have broken the hegemony's grip on the galaxy." "We had help," Harper replied modestly. "Many species contributed to the victory." "But it was human innovation that made the difference," the elder observed. "Your quantum displacement technology changed the rules of warfare overnight." Harper smiled. "That's what we do best. We change the rules when they don't work for us." Back on Earth, in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Kethnar, the former hegemony spy, worked alongside human scientists. He had chosen to defect, seeing the future more clearly than his former masters. The hegemony never understood what made humans dangerous, he told Dr. Gregory Martinez as they calibrated a new sensor array. It wasn't your weapons or your ships. What was it then? Gregory asked. Your adaptability, Kethnar replied. Your endless curiosity. Your refusal to accept limitations. He adjusted a setting on the device. The hegemony stopped asking, what if 10,000 years ago? Humans never stop asking. In her office, Admiral Lisa Morgan finished reviewing the reports from across Confederation space. The challenges ahead were enormous, but for the first time in millennia, the galaxy was free from the shadow of the hegemony. A new age had begun, led by the species that had arrived last, but had changed everything. Lisa smiled as she watched Earth turning slowly below. Humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.